Oh, I didn't see you there, but I'm so glad you're here. Today is our second installment of Reading Like a Champion. I'm Miss Parker, joining my lovely co-host, Miss Vergara, who yesterday presented to you about doing your best on literary summaries. Today we're going to take it a step further because we're reading Champions, and we're going to be talking about how to summarize informational text. Now, you know that your very first step when you have a summary question is to decide if the genre of the selection, I'm going to erase this right now, if the genre of the selection is literary or informational. So the first thing that I need to do is go back to my story after reading my question. Which of the following is the best summary of this section? Singing with Purpose. Now, because I'm a champion reader, I know to find that section right away. I use the heading as my clue. Here we are, Singing with Purpose. This is all we need. Our answer will be right here. We don't have to think so hard just yet. Here we go. Singing with Purpose. Peter Narrans is a scientist who studies how frogs call to one another. This looks like it's a true fact. Let me move to the second paragraph. In addition, Narrans has found that frogs of the same species always sing the same patterns. This looks like this is true information. It's teaching me something. We have a heading that's teaching me something. It's got to be informational. So I'm going to move on to my next step. Down. If we scroll down back to our question, here we are. Which of the following is the best summary of the section? Now, we know when we're summarizing informational text, the very beginning, the first sentence of our summary should be the main idea. Now, we know finding the main idea can be a little tricky, but here we've got our heading to help us out. Singing with Purpose. We know that our passage is about frogs. We know it's about their calls, their songs, and we know that there's a purpose or a meaning to those songs. So I'm just going to make a little note next to my question. Meaning, purpose, songs. My next step should be to underline that first sentence. My first sentence should be my main idea. But I'm looking at these answer choices and I see that they're kind of short. These might be a little bit different from our average summary responses. So I'm going to go ahead and underline that first sentence, and I'm going to try to connect it to the main idea, but I'm going to be ready for any tricks that those people in Austin are throwing out at me. Here we go. Peter Narrans is a scientist who studies frogs and frog calls. Okay. Scientist Peter Narrans studies frog calls. Scientists study all kinds of things, including frog calls. The scientist Peter Narrans decided to study the sounds frogs make. Okay, can I connect this back to my main idea and my purpose? Any one of these that is talking about singing or a meaning. So we've got frog calls. This could be it. We're going to put a question mark. The scientist Peter Narrans studies frog calls. We still got our calls. This could be it. Scientists study all kinds of things, including frog calls. Yeah, we've got our calls. We should keep this in the running. And finally, the scientist Peter Narrans decided to study the sounds frogs make. Sounds. All right. So we got all four still in the running. We're going to have to move on to our next step, which is to look at the beginning, middle, and end of each answer choice. Now, we know as reading champions that if we have less than 3 sentences, they're going to be doing something tricky. My beginning and middle might be in one sentence. My middle and end might be in one sentence. They might all be in one sentence. We're going to have to be super champion readers to figure this out. Let's go back to our passage. Okay, I'm going to do a quick read through one more time. We know that he makes recordings of frog songs. He finds out what those songs do. He's telling us how he does his experiment. Here's another fact that he found out about frogs. And finally, another fact. So he's giving us more than one fact or detail about these frog songs. Let's go back to our answer choice and see what we can do now. Here we are. By observing many frogs in nature, Narrans has learned some interesting things about a species of frog in Puerto Rico. So I know from my literary summary lesson that I should always write BME next to each answer choice. This is going to remind me what I'm looking for in each choice. And And just like with literary text, I'm going to start with the last sentence. In answer choice A, the last sentence is the rest of the answer choice. By observing many frogs in nature, Narrance has learned some interesting things about a species of frog in Puerto Rico. Now, I remember that last paragraph is about a species of frog in Puerto Rico. We've got our end. Let's keep that right there and put a check next to the E. Answer choice B, Narrance has discovered different meanings in the frog calls. We're talking about the end, and we're thinking again about that main idea, purpose, the meaning of the frog calls. I'm going to keep this in the running because that is information that comes at the end as well as at the beginning and the middle.
It's the one above.
Thank you. We're going to put a check next to that E. Answer choice C, scientists study all kind of things. He is interested in learning about how frogs use their calls. This is not something that is important, so it has no place in our summary. We can get rid of this one right away. I don't care if it's at the beginning, the middle, or the end of the story. Not important to the meanings of the frog call. So we can cross off answer choice C. Phew, we're down to 3. Some of these calls occur at the same time every night. I'm going to go back to my text and check to see if this is something that happens at the end of my story. Narrance also observes that timing plays a role in frog calls. Many frogs only call at a certain time of night. All right. Man, they're making it tricky for us. Luckily, we are champions. Let's go back to our answer choices and keep D in the running. Okay, now we're going to have to use, because we know that the beginning, middle, and end are all mixed up in these choices, we're going to have to really, really put on our thinking caps. I hope you have one as cool as mine. By observing many frogs in nature, Narrance has learned some interesting things about a species of frog. Some interesting things. It doesn't tell me what interesting things. I feel like there's got to be a better answer, something more specific with a better detail. We're going to cross off A. We're going to take a risk, but we're going to do it. Answer choice B. He records the calls, plays them back to the other frogs, and observes the frogs' responses. I remember that this is the order he does it. This is the beginning, this is the middle, and we already said that this is the end. This is a conclusion of his research. I really like B. I'm going to put it at the top of our pile. And that leaves us with answer choice D. He learned that frog calls are difficult for frogs' enemies to copy. Yeah, that was a detail at the beginning. Some of these calls occur at the same time every night. That happened at the end. We're missing a middle. We're going to cross off D, and we're left with answer choice B. That's how you read like a champion.